Welcome to OMARanger004, and today we will talk about Superboy. But before we begin, please join me on Patreon by OMARanger004. Your small donation helps run the channel. With that out of the way, let's begin. Superboy is the name of several fictional superheroes appearing in American comic books published by DC Comics. These characters have been featured in several eponymous comic series, in addition to adventure comics and other series featuring teenage superhero groups. From the character's first published story in 1944 until 1992, the title, Superboy, was applied to versions of the adventures of Superman, Kal-El, as a boy, teenager or young adult. The primary settings for the stories were the fictional town of Smallville, the 30th century, where Superboy featured in time travel adventures with the Legion of Superheroes, and universities attended by Clark Kent. In 1993, a second Superboy was introduced, a young clone of Superman who was eventually given both the name Kon-El and the secret identity of Connor Kent. In 2016, DC Comics introduced another Superboy, Jonathan Kent, the son of the contemporary Superman and his wife Lois Lane. Superboy was the first superhero to star in a successful solo title after World War II. During the Silver Age of comic books, Superboy was frequently the number 2 best-selling superhero, with monthly issues of Superboy and Adventure Comics regularly selling over 1 million combined copies. 3. Superboy and its subsequent adaptations have been credited with popularizing the prequel as a form of entertainment. 4. Versions of the characters have appeared in television shows, animated series and films since 1960, including a syndicated TV series from 1988 to 1992. Smallville, a popular WB/CW show aired from 2001 to 2011, was based on the classic Superboy characters, superheroic adventures of a pre-Superman Clark Kent, and guest appearances by an alternative version of Kon-El. Clark Kent becomes Superboy on his 8th birthday, 22. Clark dons an indestructible costume woven by Martha from the Kryptonian blankets that accompanied him on his journey to Earth. 23. He becomes the costumed hero Superboy, the first superhero of Earth 1. 24. Around the same time as his public debut, Superboy learns of his Kryptonian origin. 25, and several weeks later, he gives reporter Perry White the exclusive story about his alien background. 26. Though most of Superboy's early adventures occur in the vicinity of Smallville, he becomes famous for his superheroics around the globe. Superboy's status as both Smallville's hometown hero and as a national, global hero are reflected in the emergency signal system that he establishes with Chief Parker of the Smallville Police and the President of the United States. 27. As Superboy repeatedly ventures into interstellar space, his superheroics also bring him fame on other worlds. In Smallville, Superboy uses tunnels from the basement of the Kent's house and general store to make quick, concealed exits when Superboy is needed. Superboy also maintains a secret lab in the basement of the Kent house, where he builds Superboy and Clark Kent robots to cover for him when he is busy elsewhere or otherwise unavailable. Clark's mild-mannered character gives him few friends as a boy, and makes him the target of bullies like Bash Bashford. For years, Clark's closest friend is his beautiful red-headed neighbor, Lana Lang. Despite their friendship, Lana is also a major nuisance in Clark's life because of her recurring suspicion that Clark is secretly Superboy. Through clever use of his superpowers and robot duplicates of himself, in both identities, Clark is always able to avoid the traps Lana sets for him in order to determine the truth. For all that Lana's antics annoy Clark, as a teenager, Lana becomes Superboy's main romantic interest, and remains so through his years in high school. As Superboy, Kal-El is the first of Earth's superheroes. Despite the occasional appearance of heroes like Aquaboy and the Japanese hero Sunburst, 28. Superboy is the only superhero who has a well-known public profile until after he becomes Superman. Superboy's solitary status is reduced somewhat when he is reunited with Krypto, infant Kal-El's pet dog on Krypton. 29. Krypto joins Superboy in many of his subsequent adventures as his canine partner, and also has many adventures of his own. Through his discovery of the Phantom Zone, 30. Superboy later finds out he is not the lone humanoid survivor of Krypton. Superboy joins the Legion. Though Superboy encounters few super-powered peers on Earth, he occasionally befriends teens living on other worlds that have superpowers. Not until Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl, and Lightning Lad come into the past to recruit him for the 30th Century Legion of Superheroes. 31. Does Superboy find a group of super-powered friends with whom he regularly interacts? Superboy's career in fact is the inspiration for the formation of the Legion. Throughout his teenage years, Superboy travels to the future under his own power to join the Legion in fighting threats to Earth and the United Planets, to which Earth belongs. Superboy becomes a core member of the Legion during 2 extended, full membership stints in the Legion, including 2 terms as deputy leader. Through the Legion, Superboy also regularly meets with his cousin Kara, Supergirl, but because of telepathic hypnotism employed by Saturn Girl, Superboy never remembers Kara, or any other information relating to his future career as Superman or the future of his family and friends, when he returns to his normal, 20th century era. One of the youths who becomes a member of the Legion is Largand, a teenager whom Superboy first knows as Mon-El when he crash lands on Earth in Superboy's era. The teenager, who has powers identical to Superboy, initially has amnesia, and because he carries a message from Jor-El, Superboy believes him to be his big brother and dubs him Mon-El. When Mon-El is exposed to lead, his memory returns. He reveals that he is actually a Daxamite named Largand, and for Daxamites, lead is more deadly than kryptonite. To save his life, Superboy projects Mon-El into the Phantom Zone, 32, where Mon-El would linger for a millennium before being freed by the Legion. 33. In the Legion, the 2 teens remain close friends. The alternate Superboy from the Pocket Universe would die in Mon-El's arms. 34. Superboy meets Lex Luthor not long after he joins the Legion. Superboy's life is threatened when a green kryptonite meteor falls to Earth, but his life is saved by a Smallville farm boy named Lex Luthor, who also happens to be a science prodigy. The 2 boys become fast friends, and Superboy builds Lex a fully stocked laboratory to allow him to conduct his experiments. Lex uses the lab to search for a cure for Superboy's weakness to kryptonite. Just after Lex discovers the cure, a fire breaks out in his lab. When Superboy puts out the fire, the antidote is destroyed, along with a protoplasmic life form that Lex created, and Lex also loses all his hair. Lex blames Superboy for destroying his experiment and his hair loss, accusing the Boy of Steel of jealousy over his brilliance. Lex swears that he will prove to the world that he is superior to Superboy. Lex does this by trying to implement a series of scientific quality of life improvements for Smallville's residents. However, each invention of Lex's winds up backfiring, requiring Superboy to intervene. This series of setbacks results in Lex dedicating his life to destroying Superboy. 35. In the years that follow, Lex becomes Superboy's, and then Superman's, archfoe. Superboy soon acquires a small rogues gallery of recurring villains, including Lex. Around the time Mon-El arrives on Earth, a boy named Pete Ross moves to Smallville. 36. He quickly befriends Clark Kent, and the 2 boys are soon best friends. One night on a camping trip, Pete accidentally spies Clark changing into his Superboy outfit. 37. Vowing to keep his knowledge a secret, Pete uses his knowledge to aid Superboy and on several occasions, save his life. Not until years after they have both grown up does Pete reveal his knowledge to Clark. 38. Through the rest of his years in high school, Pete and Lana remain Clark's closest friends, and also share numerous adventures with Superboy both in the 20th century and with the Legion in the 30th. Superboy becomes Superman shortly after his graduation from high school. Superboy takes his adoptive parents on a holiday in the Caribbean where they contract a rare tropical disease. Though Superboy tries valiantly to save Martha and Jonathan, nothing cures their illness. With Clark by her side, Martha passes away. Just before he dies, Jonathan makes Clark promise to use his powers only for good. In mourning, Clark buries his parents. 39. Shortly thereafter, Superboy leaves Smallville, though not before throwing the townsfolk a giant farewell party that he tops off with a giant cake. Separately, Clark departs for Metropolis to attend Metropolis University. 40. In Metropolis, Clark readily befriends the students who share his dorm suite: Tommy Lee, Dave Hammond and the alcoholic Ducky Ginsburg. Superboy soon reveals himself as the new guardian of Metropolis, ending a national guessing game about which city Superboy would call his new home. 41. For Clark's first 2 years at Metropolis University, Lana is also a classmate, before she transfers to Hudson University. In his junior year, Superboy again feels helpless when he isn't present to stop an automobile accident involving Ducky, caused by his own drunk driving. 42. Ducky is paralyzed for life and thereafter uses a wheelchair. Ducky's place in the dorm is taken by Billy Kramer, a Smallville boy whom Clark befriends and decides to trust with his secret. Much as Superman would later do for Jimmy Olsen, Superboy gives Billy a supersonic whistle that he can use to call Superboy for help when needed. While he is befriending Billy, Clark becomes romantically involved with a wheelchair-using student named Lori Lamaris. He eventually proposes to her, but Lori reveals she already learned his identity telepathically. She rejects his proposal because she is a mermaid from Atlantis. 43, 44, 45. Trapped in a burning building while attempting to save a life, Billy uses his supersonic whistle to call Superboy, but Superboy, preoccupied with saving 1,000 people on a Pacific island from a tsunami, is unable to reach him in time. 45. Upset by his inability to save his parents and friends, Superboy exiles himself until, 3 months later, Perry White, using Billy's whistle, calls him back into action to battle Lex Luthor. After defeating Luthor, Clark makes peace with his limitations and returns to Metropolis for his final year of college. Now 21, Kal-El starts calling himself Superman, 13 years after his debut as Superboy. 46. Post-Infinite Crisis. Following Infinite Crisis, Superman did not begin his public superhero career until adulthood. However, as a teenager he joined the Legion of Superheroes, 47, and used the name Superboy while visiting the 31st century. 48. Thus, most of Kal-El's pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths stories with the Legion were once again considered canonical. In addition, Clark wore his Superboy outfit when he works as a clandestine superhero in and around Smallville. At the conclusion of the Doomsday Clock series, it was revealed that the original Superboy's adventures and history were still intact, because the DC Comics original Earth 1 had been preserved as Earth 1985. Clark's history as Superboy was also restored in the main DC Comics universe via the intervention of Dr. Manhattan, saving the Legion of Superheroes timeline. 49. Con-El in 1993. During DC Comics' Death of Superman story, a new Superboy was introduced. 50. Unlike previous characters bearing the name, this Superboy is a clone created to replace the seemingly dead Superman, rather than simply being an adolescent Clark Kent. His initial abilities are based on a form of telekinesis, known as tactile telekinesis, by which he could fly and simulate Superman's strength and invulnerability. Nicknamed the Kid, Superboy is distinguished from other Supermen, who appear after the death of Superman by his youth and brash character. Though he prefers to be called Superman during the reign of the Supermen, after Superman returns from the dead, the Kid accepts the name Superboy for himself, 51, and begins his own superhero career. He also learns that he is not a clone of Superman, but rather genetically engineered to be as Kryptonian as possible, although his genes originate from the human DNA of Paul Westfield, director of the government sector known as Project Cadmus that had created the Kid. 51. Teen Titans. In the course of his career, Con-El becomes involved with several teen superhero groups, notably the Ravers, Young Justice, the Teen Titans, and the Legion of Superheroes, and he was featured in comic series devoted to these groups. Through his association with them in both Young Justice and the Teen Titans, Con-El becomes the best friend of Robin the Boy Wonder, a close friend of Impulse, later Kid Flash, and becomes romantically involved with Wonder Girl. Sometime before he joins the Teen Titans, Superboy learns that he had been actually created from the DNA of both Superman and a human. Though he had believed that human to be Paul Westfield, after he joins the Teen Titans he learns that the human is actually Superman's arch-nemesis Lex Luthor. 52. Moreover, as the clone Superboy was developing, he was brainwashed so that Luthor could have a sleeper agent among the superhero community. When Luthor unleashes Con-El, Superboy comes close to destroying the Teen Titans, but he manages to free himself from Luthor's control before any tragedy occurs. 53. Shortly thereafter, Con-El sacrifices his life to save Earth in a battle with Superboy Prime during the Infinite Crisis. 54. After his death, statues are erected in his honor in Metropolis and Titan's Tower. Though he coerced Superboy into serving his own purposes, Luthor continues to claim that he views Con-El as his son. In a story published after Con-El's death, the alternate future Titans known as the Titans Tomorrow, including an older Connor who was cloned from the original, come back in time to the present day. Adventure Comics, Volume 2, and Superboy, Volume 4. During the Final Crisis, Legion of Three Worlds storyline, Brainiac 5 resurrects Connor in the 31st century after arranging for him to spend 1,000 years in the Kryptonian regeneration chamber that revived Superman after his battle with Doomsday and introducing into it a hair from Lex Luthor. 56. In the aftermath of Legion of Three Worlds, Connor is back in the present, living with Martha Kent and Krypto in Smallville. 57. Superboy starred in his own feature in the revival of Adventure Comics, which began publication in August 2009. See Superboy of Steel, Adventure Comics number 1-3 and number 5-8. He then moved to his own comic again, with the new series starting up in late 2010 before being cancelled in August 2011 at issue number 11 and relaunched from issue number 1 in September as part of DC Comics' relaunch of its main DC Universe properties. Superboy, Volume 5. DC Comics relaunched Superboy with issue number 1 in September 2011 as part of the new 52. 58. The series involved major changes to the character, which includes a new origin in which he is cloned from Superman, Lois Lane, and their son John Lane Kent from an alternate New 52 timeline in which John is used by the time-traveling villain Harvest to cleanse Earth of super-powered humans. 59. Though intended by Harvest to be a weapon against superpowered humans, Kon-El pursues a heroic career as a solo hero and a member of the Teen Titans. After Kon-El, apparently, dies in the past, saving Krypton from premature destruction. 60, from issue number 26, the series follows John Lane Kent, posing as Kon-El in an alternate future visited by the Teen Titans, before he arrives in the present in number 30. John was both villain and hero in the months before the series cancellation. The series concluded in August 2014 with issue number 34, in which John dies heroically to save friends he has made since number 30, and to restore Kon-El, who had not actually died, as the sole Superboy. Jonathan Kent. In 2016, Jonathan Kent became the new Superboy in DC Comics. He was introduced as the son of post-crisis Superman, Clark Kent and Lois Lane, who were reintroduced in DC continuity in the 2015 Convergence event. Jonathan John Kent was born in Convergence, Superman number 2, July 2015. After Convergence, he and his parents relocated to the New 52 universe, where the Kent family lived in secrecy for many years. He was officially introduced as Superboy in Superman, Volume 4, Number 6, November 2016. John co-stars with Damian Wayne in the DC Rebirth comic book series Super Sons as Superboy and Robin. 61-62. The series began publication in February 2017 and ended its 16-issue run in May 2018. A 12-issue limited series, Adventures of the Super Sons, which debuted in August 2018, told more of the boys' adventures together. John frequently appears in Superman and Action Comics with his parents. He is also a member of the current version of the Legion of Superheroes. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more videos about your favorite comics, movies are coming soon. Join me on Patreon by Omaranger004. Your small donation helps run the channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.